and welcome to Value Alchemy Lab. If investing were an exam with no standard answers, what would you rather do? Would you rack your brain trying to solve every difficult question and chase the perfect score? Or would you focus on avoiding the obvious traps, making sure you don't make basic mistakes so you at least don't fail? It's a profound question, and it's exactly what we're exploring today, the essence of Charlie Munger's reverse thinking. From the time we're young, we're taught to pursue excellence, to be smart, to succeed, to stand out. But Munger offers a very different piece of advice. Instead of obsessing over how to become smarter, focus your energy on how to avoid becoming foolish. At first, that might sound a bit conservative, even a little unambitious. Yet it's precisely this seemingly simple principle that has allowed top investors to remain standing through decades of market turmoil. So today, let's step into Charlie Munger's Hall of Wisdom and unpack the mystery of reverse thinking, and discover why truly intelligent people spend so much effort trying to avoid stupidity. Munger often quotes a line that sounds almost humorous. "All I want to know is where I'm going to die, so I'll never go there." It's not a joke. It perfectly captures the core of his philosophy of reverse thinking. Most people approach problems through forward reasoning. How do I succeed? How do I make money? How do I become better? Munger's approach flips the question. How do I avoid failure? How do I avoid losses? How do I avoid being stupid? He believes that avoiding stupidity, rather than chasing brilliance, is what leads to long-term and sustainable success. There's also deep psychology behind this idea. The way the human brain evolved makes us vulnerable to biases like loss aversion and confirmation bias. We crave quick success, but in that rush, we often overlook the hidden traps along the way. Traps that can be fatal. Munger's brilliance lies in systematically identifying these traps and organizing them into what he called the psychology of human misjudgment. Instead of blindly chasing opportunities that look shiny and exciting, he suggests something different. Build a negative checklist. A list of things you should never do, places you should never go. That list becomes your compass for avoiding stupidity. For example, Munger warned about dangers such as incentive-caused bias, herd mentality, and overconfidence. These psychological blind spots may seem simple, but they're often the root cause of many costly mistakes. In the world of investing, the power of this reverse thinking becomes especially clear. We often see investors obsessing over predicting the market, chasing hot sectors, and trying to outsmart everyone else with clever trades. It's like building a skyscraper on the beach. It may look magnificent at first, but once the tide comes in, the foundation slowly gets washed away. Many investment strategies work exactly like that. Impressive returns on the surface, but built on extremely fragile foundations. Munger and Buffett, the golden duo of investing, take a completely different approach. Instead of making market predictions the center of their strategy, they focus on avoiding major mistakes. They never invest in industries they don't understand. They never chase short-term fads. And they never engage in high-risk speculation. Their investment philosophy is essentially a living textbook on how to avoid stupidity. Consider a famous example, the Enron scandal. In the late 1990s, this American energy company was widely praised as a superstar of the new economy. Enron claimed it wasn't just an energy company. It presented itself as a cutting-edge technology firm that would revolutionize the energy market through complex financial trading platforms. The story was captivating. Investors loved it. Within just a few years, Enron's market value soared to around $70 billion. Wall Street analysts issued constant, strong buy ratings. Major funds poured money into the stock. The media hailed it as the model of the future. But there was one critical problem. Almost no one truly understood how Enron actually made money. Its financial structure was incredibly complex. Much of its reported profit came from obscure financial transactions and special-purpose entities that few people could explain. Many investors didn't buy the stock because they understood the business. They bought it because everyone else was buying it, but Buffett and Munger stayed away. Berkshire Hathaway never invested in Enron during the frenzy. For investors who stick to the principle of a circle of competence, the rule is simple. If a company's business model is too complex to understand, the most rational choice is to stay away. What happened next is well known. In 2001, Enron collapsed. It was revealed that the company had been hiding massive losses for years through elaborate accounting tricks. The company went bankrupt. Thousands of employees lost their jobs. Investors lost tens of billions of dollars. This case perfectly illustrates one of Munger's core principles. Truly intelligent people don't rush to grab every opportunity that looks attractive. What they care about most is avoiding actions that look clever, but are actually incredibly foolish. So how can we apply this wisdom of reverse thinking and avoiding stupidity in our own lives? First, build your own anti-stupidity checklist. Before making any important decision, whether it's investing, choosing a career path, or making a major life choice, ask yourself 3 simple questions. Do I truly understand this? What's the worst possible outcome, and can I handle it? If things go wrong, what mistake might I have made? Often, just these few questions are enough to help you avoid many obvious traps. According to Munger, avoiding stupidity doesn't require complex models. You simply need to remind yourself, at critical moments, not to make obvious mistakes. Second, define the boundaries of your circle of competence. Munger and Buffett frequently emphasize this concept. You don't need to understand everything, but you absolutely must know what you genuinely understand and what you don't. Many investment failures aren't caused by a lack of information. They happen because people overestimate their own understanding. When an opportunity appears unusually complicated, Munger's response is often very simple. If I don't understand it, I don't touch it. This strategy may look conservative, but over decades it helped them avoid countless disasters. The world of investing isn't really an exam. You don't need to answer every question. You only need to answer the questions you truly understand. Finally, build your own mistake review system. Munger once said something extremely important. My whole life has been devoted to avoiding the kinds of mistakes that have ruined other people. Great investors don't just study success stories, they spend even more time studying failure. Why did a company that once looked brilliant eventually collapse? Why did so many smart investors make the same mistake at the same time? When you analyze these failures carefully, you'll start to notice patterns. And once you recognize those patterns, it becomes much easier to avoid them in the future. That, in essence, is what Munger calls avoiding stupidity. Remember this, you don't have to be the smartest person in the room, but you should work very hard to avoid being the most foolish. Charlie Munger's philosophy of reverse thinking doesn't teach us to withdraw from the world or become overly cautious. Instead, it offers a more efficient and resilient path to success. Being clever may be a gift, but avoiding stupidity is a choice, a form of wisdom that can be learned and practiced. May we all draw strength from Munger's insights. On the road toward excellence, may we keep a little more clarity, a little less blind ambition, and ultimately arrive at the shore of value that belongs to us. Thank you for watching. If this perspective resonated with you, consider subscribing for more explorations into timeless investment thinking.